Hello, everyone. My name is Marie, and I would like to welcome you all to First Drive, Conversation on Writing. Thank you for joining us. My name is Marie Galophe, and I'm in beautiful sunny Regina today, where it's -10. I will be your host for today's talk and conversation with Michael Afenfia. We are all coming together from different places and time zone, whether that's on a treaty or unceded territory. Feel free to say hi in the chat and let us know from where you're watching and where you're from. I would like first to acknowledge that the Saskatchewan Writer Guild serves membership spanning the entire province of Saskatchewan in treaties 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10, which encompasses the traditional territories of the Niyawak, the Anishinabeg, the Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, and Dene nations, and on the homeland of the Métis Nation. We are very fortunate to have the support of our major funders who make events like this one possible, namely SAS Lotteries, Canada Council for the Arts, and the City of Regina. We are also in proud partnership with SAS Culture for this event. You may have noticed this event is broadcast across Zoom and Facebook Live. So again, say hi, wave your hand. I'll be happy to see where you're from and who you are. That's why we come together in this challenging times. We are broadcasting this event, but you will be also able to watch it later on if you wish to do so. First Draft, Conversation on Writing, is a monthly online talk series that dives into themes that affect our writing lives. As you know, writing helps us to understand things and to communicate these findings to our audience, even if this audience is just ourselves. Sometimes we are driven by these themes, other times they are the things that hold us back. However, what we learn in the process can be life-changing. And here comes the tagline: the quest to be understood unifies us all. And again, that's why I think it's important to come together and have those informal conversations on writing. A little bit of housekeeping now. This event begins with a 15-minute talk presented by author, today Michael Afenfia, on the theme of tenacity. Following the talk, we will dive deeper into Michael's theme as I ask questions to explore this topic. You're welcome to share your own question throughout the event in the chat box or in the Facebook comment section. If there is time, we will include your question at the end, or if your questions are just brilliant, we will go with them because we want to hear about you. Now, the man of the day, Michael. Michael has titled his talk, "What is the opposite of tenacity?" And he said, "The thief of creativity." In this talk, Michael will discuss tenacity and resilience in writing and for writer. He will touch on the architecture of writing to show elements that form the foundation of a good story, and also look at factors that erode resilience. And I think we're familiar with those factors nowadays. So, Michael, who is Michael? Michael is a cultural bridging facilitator based in Saskatchewan, Canada. He is the author of 4 critically acclaimed novels. You may have read them or you may have heard about them. The first one is When the Moon Caught Fire. The second is A Street Called Lonely. Then Don't Die on Wednesday. And lastly, The Mechanics of Yenagoa. His 2020 release, The Mechanic of Yenagoa, is a captivating read laced with humor, pop culture, and pidgin English. His academic background is in law and business administration. Prior to relocating to Canada in the summer of 2019, he worked as a speechwriter to the governor of his own state, Bayelsa, in Nigeria. Michael has also worked in banking, real estate, and communication. A legal practitioner with an MBA, Michael's 5th novel should be in the fall of 2021. So please stay tuned to follow the release. Now, please join me in welcoming Michael Afenfia for a 15-minute talk followed by question.
Thank you so much, Marie, Kat, and everyone else behind the scene. with SWG for giving me this opportunity. I'm really grateful to have this conversation with you guys. And I'm going to try and see how I can do this in 15 minutes. I would share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, all right. So I suppose you can see the topic of my presentation today. Many of you may not have guessed, but the title of this presentation is actually a homage to a great Canadian I followed and loved for many years, the late Alex Trebek. So it's styled in the way you'd have a Jeopardy question. What is the opposite of tenacity? The thief of creativity. So I will race through this topic in the next 15 minutes, and I hope that we would learn something from it. I like to think that even beyond my love for writing, and anyone who knows me knows that writing is my life, beyond my, over and above my love for writing is my love to mentor, young writers. So back home in Nigeria, where I'm from, I do that a lot. And at the moment, I think I should have like maybe 3 manuscripts. I'm helping people review and just to give them pointers on how to make it better, advising young writers on how to go about writing, or just things I've learned over the years that have brought me this far. And so, speaking about tenacity, I think it just falls right, into an area that I love to do. And so I'll go through today in the next 15 minutes or thereabouts, just talk about tenacity, the architecture of writing, and what these thieves are, and then probably close with some important tips for some of us who already are writers would know already, but maybe there are 1 or 2 people who, every now and then still need that boost. Call me old-fashioned Michael, but I like to start my presentations with a simple definition, of some of the key components of what we'll be discussing today, being tenacity. This is a simple Google search will throw this up of what tenacity is, right? First one says the quality or fact of being able to grip something firmly. Maybe that's not what we're looking for. The quality or fact of being very determined. I think I like that. Being determined, persistent, maybe even resilient, right? Not giving up. Maybe grit, those may be some words you can associate with tenacity. So just have that at the back of your mind, right? That we're talking about determination, we're talking about persistence, we're talking about being resilient, we're talking about not giving up, because as a writer, you're going to face that a lot. You're going to face that a lot. I remember in my early years, when I first, because I used to be like a closet writer, right? So when eventually people started, oh, this guy can write, then they would say, is this what you want to do? Like you're a lawyer, how are you going to feed your family and all those sort of things? So over the years, you just have to know to dig in, because you may hear things like that. I like to call this slide the writer's gardening. Looking out the window right now, I know because of the snow, nothing is growing apart from the tree. So it's kind of apt. I'm looking at the tree now, and it's standing, and I'm wondering. We see the tree, we see when it blooms, we see the flowers, we see the fruits for those that bear fruits. So I like to look at that from the eyes of a writer sometimes. The fruits we see, the novels, the script you write for, movies, even songs. Because remember, sometimes when I talk to my friends who are poets, I say to them, "Oh, you're just a failed singer. Like, if you had the voice, you would be a singer, right? So you just write those poems and you're not able to sing them." So the lyrics to songs, drama we see on theater, poems, novels, books, autobiographies, all those sorts. Those are the fruits, right? But what many people don't realize or fail to realize is, yeah, you see the book, you see the finished product, but what is beneath that? And that's what's more important, right? It's fear, education, whatever level of it you have. It's love. So many books have been written about love, because people are either in love or out of love. Optimism, validation, gender, several rewrites, your hunger and thirst. And there's so many things, and I may not I've listed all of them here, but I mean, you may be familiar with some of them. Your religious belief and a lot of all those components, they form the foundation for what becomes your writing. Whenever I see a building, I look at it again from the eyes of a writer. And for me, what's at the bottom, what's the foundation, they say when the bones are good, the house won't break. So what's in the bones, what's in the foundation? Again, if we go to the previous slide, you'll see some of the elements there. The sleepless nights, the time before we had electricity, when all them Shakespeare and all those people would write, the candles they burn, the lanterns they turn on, isolation from your family, your experiences in life, all of those things, they go into the foundation. And if you don't put enough of that into your writing, as you go up the building, it probably starts to get shaky, right? So I see like the ground floor, the first floor, the middle floor, no matter whatever number of stories you have in your building, standing on the foundation, right? And in terms of comparing it to a book, for me, that would be like the middle of the book, right? And then the foundation, all of the things you have experienced that pushes you to even start would be the starting points that everything else rests upon. And then the end, how you end the book, for me would be like the cap on top, the roof on top. Oftentimes I've read books myself, and I just, when I'm done, the last page, I close the book and I go to sleep. And then there are times I'm done reading a book and I get to the last page. One, I don't want it to end. And then when it ends, I turn and I look. If there's a picture of the author, I start to stare at it like, whoa, how did this guy do this or this lady do this? It goes with me to my, like into my dream, and I'm thinking about it, and I'm asking questions. So how do you want to end your book? Do you want to be memorable, or you just want that good feeling, oh, I'm done, and close the book and go away? But I mean, the choice is yours, right? So going back to our homage to Alex, Six Thieves, we're talking about tenacity, right? And what are the things that would erode tenacity, that would take your tenacity away, will steal that from you? And I've tried to identify 6. Maybe there are more, but because we only have about 15 minutes, we'll just race through this. If you know more, please feel free to include that in the chat, and we can all share and learn from each other. I'd like to start with time. For a writer and for many of us in life, that's a scarce commodity. Many people would not, even if you are like an academic or a lecturer in school, you have your students you're teaching, you have papers to grade, you have so many things you're doing. What time do you find when do you find the time to write? Because many people wouldn't write full-time. I've never been a full-time writer. I've always had like high-profile jobs that require like my attention like 24/7, but somehow I know when that fire caught me, I knew I just had to write. And so miraculously, well, I won't say miraculously because there's a lot of determination, right, to be able to do that. So while I was speechwriter to the governor, while I was working in the bank, and I will resume at 6 in the morning because of Lagos traffic and get home at 11 in the night, I will still wake up between 12 and 4 a.m. when I get up to prepare for work and scribble something down. But it's hard, you know, in this world. And since coming to Canada, for instance, in my case, I have like 2 jobs and my writing, right? So you can imagine how difficult that is. But the amazing thing is, since arriving in Canada in August 2019, by October, I started writing a book. I started writing again. And it was like a difficult circumstance because I mean, I'm a new immigrant. I've only just moved into Canada, trying to settle down, get a job, a lot of uncertainties, but I still found time to write, and finally completed that story manuscript by June, July of 2020. As we speak, you know, the conversations, contracts, and everything has been signed. And so just being able to find the time is challenging, but determination will make you do it. I also recall like my current book, The Mechanics of Yanagua. It actually started as a blog series. So I was writing every week, a chapter every week, and it would be published online and people would read it. And so I had a commitment to do that because my fans wanted to read it. And so I remember a particular episode. I traveled to another city in Nigeria for work, and it was a Saturday, and my editor calls me and says, "Oh, Michael, tomorrow is Sunday. We usually publish on Sunday. I've not seen the episode for Mechanics of Yanagua yet." And I'd gone on official assignment outside my state. I was in a printing press because we had some work-related materials that had to be published for an event. So I had to sleep in the printing press to get the materials out that weekend. And here's my editor calling me and saying, "Michael, I need your story. I need your story." And I looked around, it was noisy, like the machines were going like, you know, so much noise. There were people everywhere waiting for their jobs. It was December and people had like, you know, calendars and Christmas cards and all sorts of things. It was also an election year, so they were printing posters for politicians and it was a busy place. And I brought out my laptop, stood and wrote a chapter of what became Mechanics of Yanagua, standing in a noisy place. So that's what determination can do. That's what tenacity can do. The next thing I'd like to talk about is validation. Now, back to time, why I said that, because you're determined to write, but do you have the time, right? So that's something that erodes or can steal your determination. One of the thieves. Another thief would be validation. You're there, you've written a story you think is good, you've sent it out to your friends to read, and you're waiting for them to get back to you, and they come back and they're not happy with what you've written. And you say, "Oh, I was not." In fact, I always knew I was never born to be a writer. What was I thinking? So many of us seek validation, and I don't think there's ever a time when you don't want it, like, in spite of like the reviews I've gotten over the years for my book, every time somebody comes and says, "Oh, Michael, I like this," like I get very, very excited. So I can imagine like if the reviews are always the opposite, like would I still be writing? But somehow you have to get to that point where you're confident of yourself, like it's your story. A lot of young writers will come to me and say, "Oh, Michael, read this, change." And I say, "No, I'm not going to change your story. I wasn't there when you got the idea. It's yours. Own it." Would people criticize it? Yes, they will, right? But the inspiration was never theirs, it was yours. So at some point you have to stand up for your story and you have to defend your story. Over the years, publishing, my publishers will say, change the title, we don't like the title, or change something about it, you know. Not that I'm being stubborn. Sometimes I will agree with them, but on certain issues, I will stand my ground and say, you know what, I'm going to defend, like, it's between me and the readers. And something I've learned to do while writing is to, my sister, we grew up together, like we have the same taste in literature. And so when I'm writing, sometimes I'll send it to her, and she's very brutal, you know. But she reads as a consumer, not necessarily as a critic. So, and at the end of the day, you want to sell books, right? You want people to read your books and enjoy it. So if she reads it and I feel like, okay, yeah, one or two people who just read books for the enjoyment of it have read it and they like it, then I feel good with myself. But that's constant search for validation can steal your determination to write. And that's something I thought we should note. Another thing would be resources. Like a lot of young writers are, you know, caught up in that place where they're trying to get traditional publishing, or they're trying to, you know, be self-published. And to do that, you know, you have a bill, the publishing company gives you a bill. Can you meet up, you know? And those are things that you worry about. And if you were to write, do you make money from the sale of your books? Not many writers will say that they do. So how do you pay your bills? You know, so all those are issues that writers have to deal with. And, you know, sometimes you're not able to overcome it in time. It can steal your determination to write. We have this guy who is lost in thought, is looking for inspiration, which is another thing that you know, can steal your determination to write. Even that inspiration, like, where do you get ideas from? What do you look out for, you know? And so if you don't feel sufficiently inspired, you can be distracted, and then somehow you're not able to do it. But somehow you have to dig deep inside of you and look for inspiration. For me, inspiration comes from, you know, the tiniest things. The dog in the house, my neighbor's car, the winter, you know, whatever. And I just write. And yeah, there was a time when I would even actively, like, you know what, except I'm in the mood, I'm not going to start writing. But these days, I kind of see, especially when I started doing the blog and writing for some online publications back home in Nigeria, where I had to turn in something every week. It was no longer about inspiration, but determination, because you have to, your story, your feature comes out every Thursday, and by Monday or Tuesday, they're calling you and asking you for it. You just bring out your laptop, or I would just bring out my laptop and start typing. And I tell people, my laptop, not me, my laptop, and oh my God, I cherish my laptop. Like, it has written so many stories for me. I don't even know where they come from. Like, when I'm done, I go back, oh, how did this happen? No, and it's the good old laptop. And I remember for about a month coming to Canada, it gave up on me. And that 1 month was like the saddest 1 month of my life. Perfection, again, almost like validation. Now, you don't just want people to say, this is good. You want them to say, this is, you know, 10, 10, 10, like, all around perfection. I would sometimes deliberately, like, watch maybe CNN or, you know, CTV or BBC, where and I'm not saying don't pay attention to details, but everybody makes mistakes. So don't beat yourself too hard when you do. You know, I've sometimes seen the scroll bar on CNN will misspell someone's name or the name of a place. And when I see those things, I take pictures of it and I post them on my social media platforms, just so people can see that, you know what, everybody makes mistakes. So don't beat yourself too hard when you do. Pick up yourself and move on. And in writing, maybe thankfully there's always opportunity for rewrites, right? But again, I'm not saying don't pay attention to details. It is, but your quest for perfection can hold you back, and you don't want that at all. life itself, the circle of life. Things will happen. I remember my first year in the university, we had written an exam, our first exam in university, and a couple of my classmates had failed. So we sat down in the middle of the road. I passed, thankfully, but they failed. So we sat down in the middle of the road, like traffic, there was high traffic. So a lecturer comes out and he thought, oh, these guys want to commit suicide. And he says, are you guys going to kill yourselves because you failed the first course, in the university? You're going to fail many more courses. Like, you're going to go through life, you're going to lose jobs, things will happen. Life happens. And when life happens, it can sometimes take away your determination to write. But again, life is a circle, right? So it comes, it goes, it comes, it goes. And you have to know just where to place yourself in that circle. I'm going to try and wrap this up. Because now I've told you all the things that can take away your, the thieves that can steal your tenacity or determination to write. But how do you then overcome it? The first thing I like to say is to be creative. Creative, not just about coming up with innovative ways, not just being able to write, but also just being able to do something differently, to come up with innovative ways of telling a story, of doing stuff. And since coming to Canada, like, I've been fascinated because of the experiences I've had settling down. I've been interested in writing that story. I know so many people have done that already, but how can I tell the immigrant story? How can I tell my own story? So people back home in Nigeria who are thinking of immigrating, and even people who are here who see me, a Black person struggling to settle down in Canada, would have my backstory, right? So a few days ago, a friend of mine and I were like, okay, we're two Black guys in Canada. Like, what sort of experience? We came in about the same time. He came, how do we tell our story? And we thought, you know what, let's collaborate. Let's tell this story together in a book in a way nobody else, have done. So you have to constantly think of new things to do. And I think that all of my four books, they're all different. Like, they're all different. And I'm not saying don't stick to a particular style, but then you cannot be a writer without being creative. For crying out loud, be creative. And then never stop reading. Never stop. You mean you can't be a writer without being a reader, right? So never stop reading. Keep searching for new materials. Write whenever and wherever you can. Given the story of how I had to write in a printing press, standing up, and did a whole chapter. And I never was deterred by the sound of the people around me. Living with your family, with wife and kids or husband or whatever. Are you still able to, because you can't always lock yourself up in a hotel, right? If you can't afford it, how do you then write? So you have to find a way, push yourself to do that. Use social media. I mentioned my book, The Mechanics of Yenagua, actually started as a social media post, and then the publisher saw it and they loved it and they said, oh, we'd like to publish this. And that was how that deal was made. And social media is free. Some people are looking for platforms. You can't always afford to publish books because I'd mentioned one of the thieves was funding, right? But social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, your stories can go there and people can begin to get to know you and read you. Take pride in your accomplishments, the simple things. Again, don't beat yourself too hard. Master shorter literary forms. I started out like, I'm not saying any literary form is easier than the other, but it's easy to find fulfillment in poetry, for instance, because I can write a poem in a day, and maybe it was a haiku or a 4-line poem or something. I can start and finish, and I have that sense of fulfillment. Short stories, I started writing poems, and then I graduated to doing short stories. I have a collection of short stories that haven't even been published, and they're just there, in notebooks or in my laptop somewhere. But every time I was able to finish a short story, I had a sense of accomplishment. So if you master shorter literary forms, it gives you that sense that you can do this, you can start something and you can finish, which is often the problem for those of us who are into like longer literature, because sometimes it could take a year or 2 or 3 or even 5 years to write a book, and in that period you feel like there's something you're not doing right. And then remember the people you inspire. Again, I started by saying that even more than the love for my writing is my love for the people I mentor, and the opportunity to mentor them back home in Nigeria. And just thinking that I cannot fail because of them keeps me going. And I started with time as one of the thieves, and I want to end with time as one of the things that we need to know. And I'll share a story quickly because I think my time is up or so. Among the participants here today is Michael. Michael is the CEO of a production company back home in Nigeria, but lives in Quebec with his family. And by maybe early next week, I think, I will be assigning the film rights to the Mechanics of Yenagua, to his production company, because the Mechanics of Yenagua will be on TV or in cinema or something. I started writing 10 years ago, 11 years ago, maybe. My first book was published in 2010, right? So I did 1 book, 2 books, 3 books, and my 4th book finally caught the attention of the movie industry in Nigeria, and they wanted to turn it into a film. So time, like the song, everything gets better in time. And sometimes all you have to do when you've done everything else is just wait, and time will make it happen for you. I will close with the words of someone who is also a writer, and until her tragic disappearance in the 1940s, was a great pilot. And her words, the most difficult thing is the decision to act. The rest is merely tenacity. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. And I would stop sharing.
Thank you so much, Michael. It was really inspiring. And despite the fact that, you took a little bit longer than expected, it was so inspiring and I would say fruitful that it was really a pleasure listening to you. I hope our audience did so. And please pop in your question in the chat box if you have any burning question. In the meantime, I'm going to start. As you know, February is like Black History Month in the United States and Canada. And I think we are very lucky to have Michael, that is a newcomer to Canada, a successful person, and has so much to share with us as a culture. So my question for Michael would be, what does your culture back home say about tenacity and writing? Is there anything that could benefit or uplift Canadian writers? We want to learn from you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that question, Marie. So generally, in Nigeria, we say, and I'll say it in Pidgin English, and I'll try to interpret it. It says like, Naija no dey carry last. So Niger is another name for Nigeria, right? And we say Naija no dey carry last. What it means is, as Nigerians, we're never at the bottom. Like, we never give up. So in everything we do in life, we try to be successful. I see, most of my Nigerian friends here, whose kids are either in high school or in college. every time I have a conversation with them, like they're doing really, really well. Because we just don't give up. We just don't want to be seen at the bottom. And so even with writing, we constantly want to keep at it. And another thing, like I know for sure about Nigerians is that they're very creative. Like Nigerians are really creative. So whether it was fashion, whether it was music, you know, and if you're a music lover like me, you'd notice a lot of Nigerian influence in American hip hop. Like almost every big American artist wants to feature a Nigerian singer. Beyonce has done it with her Lion King soundtrack. Everybody, pretty much everyone is, you know, collaborating with Nigerians. So the creativity is there for sure. And then the creativity coupled with the fact that we're just resilient. Like we've been through so much. Like I say to people, like our history is almost, you know, similar with what the indigenous peoples have gone. We were colonized by the British as well. Instead of residential schools, we had missionary schools. So a lot of our parents went to missionary schools where they were forced and taught by Christians, Catholics, and all that, Anglicans on the schools. We were taught to forget our languages and speak English. So today I think in English, I dream in English, I write in English. So we've had all those experiences and we're able to put those experiences into our stories. And we also have the culture of storytelling, like moonlight tales and stories our grandmothers told us and our mothers told us and our fathers told us. And we have a lot of those, we're rich in that. And they're able to influence and propel us, you know, when we are in that creative space.
Thank you, Michael. As I listen to you, like you say, you know, we do not write out of nothing. We write out of culture, tradition, things learned, and also things read. So could you tell us about maybe a fictional character who embodies tenacity for you and we should know about? And if this character could from a literature less known by most Canadian reader, it would be fantastic so we can keep learning.
It's probably a very popular book and a popular author will be Alex Haley. It'll be Kunta Kinte. Yeah.
Can you tell us more about this book?
Yeah, so the book is Roots, and it was Alex Haley, the author, who, you know, tried to find out about his African or his Black American author who tried to find out about his Black African heritage. And so the story of Kunta Kinte came about, you know, so Kunta Kinte came from slavery, was shipped from Africa, stole, kidnapped, chained, you know, sold into slavery, and over several generations, we had the author. So coming from that background and still being able to make something of yourself, of your life, of your generation, that's really awesome. Interestingly, my first book was about slavery, right? And it's almost like I have come full circle, because when I wrote that book, When the Moon Caught Fire, the experience was, oh, wow, these people, like, they were stolen, the Blacks were stolen. And I look at myself and I'm like, oh, I paid my flight ticket to Canada. Like, I'm having this experience. It's a different world now, I guess, and it's a different time. But that ability is still the same ability to go to a new place and bring something of you to that place. And I'm so thankful for the opportunity of being here and doing this.
Thank you, Michael. Unfortunately, our time together has come to an end. However, Michael, would you be comfortable maybe sharing in the chat with the audience an email address if they have questions they want to ask you later on, or if they want to keep, you know, conversing with you, maybe become pen pal or something exciting like this? It'd be fun.
Yeah, I will do that. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And across social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, it's always just Michael Afenfia, across all social media platforms.
Fantastic. Well, again, Michael, thank you so much for talking to us today. As a reminder, this video will be available on the Saskatchewan Writers Guild Facebook page under the video section. And a caption video will also be uploaded on their YouTube channel soon. If you like what you've witnessed today and heard, let us know in the comments. Feedback is always appreciated. And please share this video with folks who might appreciate it. There is no better way to celebrate Michael, his work, and his tenacity that is spreading the word and make sure that people read his book. Thank you again, Michael. Thank you to you, audience, for watching with us today. Thanks again to our funders, Sask Lotteries, Canada Council for the Arts, City of Regina for their support. Stay tuned. We will be back in March with a special Talking Fresh installment of First Draft, Conversations on Writing. See also skwriter.com. It's a website for this and more writing-related programs, events, and opportunities. The Guild is the hub. That's the place to be when it comes to writing in the province. So stay tuned. Thank you so much and have a great rest of the day.